Welcome to the news this week on Spectrum Television, a recap of major stories within the week. I am Rachel David White, coming to you live from the beautiful hills of Ibiakuran. President Buhari thanks former UN scribe Kim Moon for support to Nigeria. Federal government inaugurates National Directorate of Employment Board. Russia bans entry to British Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Details of these stories and more in a moment. We begin the news with a report that President Muhammadu Buhari had on Monday expressed Nigeria's appreciation to former United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon for his commitment to the progress and socio-economic development of the country. The president's media aide, Garba Shehu, confirmed this in a statement in Abuja. Shehu said the Nigerian leader who spoke to Ban the phone reiterated his long-standing respect and admiration for the two-time UN scribe on his part. Ban commended the president for his handling of security and related challenges facing the country. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari is expected to meet with the service chiefs next Tuesday. The meeting comes amid the increased security challenges in the country. The president had on Thursday presided over a meeting of a Council of State at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. The meeting was attended by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, National Security Advisor Babakana Mungunu, and the Chief of Staff to the President, Professor Ibrahim Gambari. Former heads of state physically in attendance were Abdul Salami Abubakar, Goodluck Jonathan, and Yakubu Gowon, while others attended the meeting virtually from their various locations. The state governors in attendance were Hope Uzodinma of Imo State, Kayode Fayemi of Ekiti State, Atuku Bagudu of Kebbi State, Bello Matawale of Zamfara State, and Nasser El-Rufai of Kaduna State, with some others attending virtually. Meanwhile, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo had announced within the week that international collaborations on military actions and cross-border security interventions are yielding results in fight against terrorism. Osinbajo stated this in Abuja while declaring open the first annual International Forum on Development of the Lake Chad Basin Commission. The Vice President, who was the special guest of honor at the event, said synergy between countries and stakeholders across the region and the Sahel were critical to stability in the region. Away from that, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo said Nigeria was blessed with the resources to be the firmest black nation on earth. Osinbajo stated this on Monday in his declaration speech to contest the 2023 presidential election. He therefore urged the citizens to birth the expectations of greatness that were conceived by the founding fathers. The vice president said it would be a collective responsibility to build a country where all citizens were treated fairly, justly, and with respect. In another development, the federal government inaugurated the board of the National Directorate of Employment and the governing council of Michael Imodu National Institute for Labor Studies in Ilorin, Kwara State yesterday. Minister of State for Labor and Employment Festus Keyamo inaugurated the boards of the two agencies in Abuja. Keyamo, who supervises the two bodies, said the ceremony demonstrated the government's commitment to all-inclusive governance as provision of effective service delivery to the people. He explained that the agencies were established to discharge their functions and attain objectives most speedily outside the civil service structures and procedures.
The boards of the NDE and MNILS underscores the high premium that the government of President Buhari places on labor studies, on employment, on wealth creation, and social inclusion. The reconstitution of the present boards of the NDE and MNILS.
Meanwhile, the federal government has opened a channel of discussion with terrorists who abducted passengers on a Kaduna-Abuja-bound train in March 2022. Speaking with journalists in Kaduna, relatives and friends of the abducted passengers said they had been assured by the government that a channel of discussion with the terrorists had been opened 9 days after the attack. The terrorists reportedly released the managing director of a bank of agriculture, Alwan Hassan, after an alleged 10 million naira ransom. It could be recalled that the bandits had threatened to kill all the victims if the federal government failed to negotiate with them. The relatives also warned the Nigerian Railway Corporation not to resume services on the Abuja-Kaduna route until their loved ones abducted by bandits are released. In a related development, Managing Director of the Nigerian Railway Corporation, Fidet Akira, has announced that Nigerians intending to travel by rail should get their national identity number ready, as it would be a requirement from May 2022. Akira said in Abuja that the NIN would be needed to enhance the profiling of passengers to ensure the safety and security of rail users. He said the Abuja-Kaduna train service will resume as soon as possible with additional security measures in place. It could be recalled that the corporation had suspended the Abuja-Kaduna route following a March 28 attack by Silent, who injured passengers and kidnapped some. Akira said the security agencies were working tirelessly to rescue and release all abductees, noting that 362 passengers and 20 crew members were aboard the train when it was plundered. In education, federal government has accused the Academic Staff Union of Universities of selfishness over the prolonged strike embarked upon by the union. Minister of State for Education, Emeka Nwajuba, stated this in an interview with Newsman. He also took a swipe at the Joint Action Committee of the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities and the Non-Academic Staff Union of Education and associated institutions for going on strike. It could be recalled that the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, the Non-Academic Staff Union of Education, and associated institutions had begun a 2-week warning strike over payment of earned allowances. Meanwhile, the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, Abuja Zone, is insisting that there will be no resumption in public universities until renegotiated 2009 agreement is implemented and the university transparency and accountability solution deployed. The ASU Zonal Coordinator, Dr. Salawu Lawal, met the remark during a press conference at the University of Abuja in Gwagwalada. Lawal said the members were ready to return to their duty post as soon as their demands are met by the federal government. In a separate development, the Minister of Interior, Ralph Aregbesola, says the process of issuing the Nigerian passport will be fully digitized before the end of 2022. Aregbesola said this during the commencement of a 2-day capacity building workshop organized for passport control officers from across the country and foreign offices. He said the workshop was to ensure effective and efficient service delivery to maximize the gains of the passport reforms by the federal government. The minister said the decision was to cut off any form of contact between applicants and immigration officers who gives rise to corruption in the process. He added that the maximum period for fresh passport applicants and applications was now 6 weeks, while passport renewal would no longer be more than 3 weeks. In another development, the federal government is planning to hold the national population census in April 2023, 1 month after the general elections scheduled for February and March. The Director General of Nigeria Population Commission, Nasera Issa Kwara, confirmed this to State House correspondent after the Council of State meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari, noting that the Commission would hold a pilot census in June after the political primaries. Issa Kwara said it will deploy high-grade technology during the exercise. He observed that the current data used by the country were obsolete projections and that the census would provide more accurate data for national planning. Away from that, Director General and Chief Executive Officer, National Office for Technology Acquisition and Promotion, Dr. Dan Azumi Ibrahim, says the federal government through Executive Order 5 has restricted the issuance of visas to certain foreign professionals. Ibrahim, who spoke during a media chat on public presentation of indigenous software for implementation of Executive Order 5, added that only foreign professionals with skills lacking in Nigeria would get visa approval from the Ministry of Interior. It could be recalled that Executive Order 5 was signed into law by President Muhammadu Buhari on February 2, 2018, to promote local content in public procurement. On legislative matters, on Thursday, the National Assembly passed amendments to the 2022 Appropriation Act and 2022 Fiscal Framework. The document raised the deficit in the federal government's budget by 965.42 billion naira to 7.35 trillion naira. In their chambers, the Senate and the House of Representatives considered and adopted report on the amendment bill at plenary based on the request by President Muhammadu Buhari. Provision for federally funded upstream projects being implemented was reportedly cut by 200 billion naira from 352.8 billion naira, while the projection for federal government independent revenue was raised by 400 billion naira. Still on legislative matters, the Senate passed the Nigerian Peace Corps Establishment Bill 2020. Following the consideration of a report by the Committee on Interior, the bill was sponsored by Senator Ali Ndume, representing Borno South. Senator Suleiman Omar, in a representation on behalf of the chairman of the committee, Kashim Shatima, said the panel consolidated the Nigerian Peace Corps Bill and National Unity Corps Bill into one for ease of advancing its work. He said the Nigerian Peace Corps Bill sought to empower, develop, and provide gainful employment for youths, facilitate peace, volunteerism, community services, neighborhood watch, and national building. He explained that the Corps would have the responsibility of training the youths to advance the cause of peace building and conflict transformation through peace education, mediation, and conflict resolution among warring groups and communities in Nigeria. Away from that, Socio-Economic Right and Accountability Project, SERAP has urged President Muhammadu Buhari to urgently review and withdraw the pardon granted for former governors of Plateau and Taraba State, Senator Joshua Dariye. They also asked for the withdrawal of pardon granted to Reverend Jolly Nyame, who, alongside the former governors, is serving jail term for corruption. SERAP also urged the president to propose constitutional amendment to the National Assembly to reform the provisions on the exercise of the prerogative of mercy to make the provisions more transparent, consistent, and compatible with Nigeria's international anti-corruption obligations. In another development, the chairman of the Nigerian Governors Forum and governor of Ekiti State, Kayode Fayemi, has tasked state governors to join hands with the president to deal with bandits in the country. Fayemi gave the charge on Friday while leading a two-man delegation of the forum to Kaduna State to commiserate with the government and people of the state on the recent Abuja-Kaduna train attack. He pointed out that the primary purpose of government was to ensure the safety of lives and property, donating 50 million naira to support the state in the fight against insecurity. Fayemi encouraged the Kaduna State Governor, Nasir El-Rufai, not to relent in his effort at building the state. Responding, El-Rufai said there were 61 Kaduna indigents still recuperating from the train attack. According to El-Rufai, the attack was avoidable as the state government had tipped the Nigeria Railways Corporation twice about the impending attack, but all efforts to suspend night trains were not heeded. Away from that, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board had on Monday released the result of a 2022 mock unified tertiary matriculation examination conducted on April 9th. JAM made this known in the weekly bulletin of the office of its registrar in Abuja. The board advised candidates who sought for the examination to visit www.jam.gov.ng and click on 2022 mock result checking and input the UTME registration number to access their result. Reports say no less than 175,000 candidates sat for the examination across JAM's 757 centers nationwide. In politics, the People's Democratic Party (PDP) has further adjusted its timetable and schedule of activities for the 2023 general elections. The PDP announced adjustment in a statement by its National Publicity Secretary, Debo Ologunagba, in Abuja. Ologunagba said the new closing date for the purchase of forms has been extended to Tuesday, while the last day for the submission of completed forms has been extended to Wednesday. He explained that the party adjusted the timetable to make up for the 2 days public holidays for Easter celebrations as announced by the federal government. And now to financial crimes, where the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, will rearraign the former National Publicity Secretary of People's Democratic Party, PDP, Olisa Meto. Meto will be rearraigned on May 30th on allegations bordering on 400 million naira fraud. He is expected to be rearraigned before Justice Emeka Nwite of Federal High Court, Abuja. On security matters, Nigeria Air Force has killed more than 70 Islamic State-affiliated fighters in the Lake Chad area at the border with Niger Republic. In a statement, the force said aircrafts from both Nigeria and Niger Republic had taken part in the operation. The Lake Chad area is reportedly known for hosting fighters of the Islamic State West Africa Province, ISWAP, a jihadist group active since 2016. Reports say with older rivals Boko Haram, the two factions have killed more than 40,000 people in the past decade, with over 2 million others still displaced from their homes due to ongoing violence. Still on security, no fewer than 32 suspects have been arrested for kidnapping, killing, armed robbery, defilement, and cultism by the Lagos State Police Command. Spokesperson for the command, Superintendent of Police Benjamin Hudain, told newsmen that the arrest was part of efforts to tackle crime and criminality in the last 1 month. While parading the suspect at the command headquarters on Thursday, the command said 30 live arms and ammunition were also recovered from the suspect. Hudain said the suspects were arrested following an intelligence and detailed information on their activities. He added that some of the suspects were ambushed during an operation and had been on wanted list following previous robbery in 2021.
Our fight against crime and criminality within Lagos State in the past 1 month or thereabout. Before you today, we have a total of 32 suspects who have engaged in varying crimes, including armed robbery, kidnapping, defilement, murder, cultism, and so on. From all of these cases we have successfully cracked, we have recovered a total of 11 arms, 19 live ammunition, 2 cars, 16 inverter batteries, 6 modules, cables, 3 ATM cards, 4 SIM cards, 4 phones. Our fight against crime and criminality within Lagos State.
Still to come in news, LCCI partners registered brokers on insurance. Do stay with us. Thanks for staying tuned. Back here, Akwa Ibom State Governor Domimano has urged political leaders across the political divide to eschew hatred, anger and violence, noting that no political office was worth the blood of anybody as all power belonged to God. Governor Emmanuel gave the advice in an Easter broadcast to the people of the state. The governor also urged the people of the state to eschew hatred, ethnicity, anger, and all forms of divisive tendencies. The governor charged the people of the state to continue to support the government to build the state and secure a future of prosperity, peace, and growth for the children of the state and even unborn generation.
Of commemoration of this joyous event, let us remember his life and good works. Let us remember that through his teachings, he lifted the sight of humanity to the boundless glory of eternity. He gave hope to the poor, he gave courage to the weak, and he gave health to the sick and the infirmed. Even though the manner we choose to celebrate this most important event in the Christian calendar may differ, we must all use this occasion to renew our commitment to being more Christ-like in loving our neighbors, remembering those in need, and helping those who are persecuted in our midst. His extraordinary sacrifice and compassion should inspire us to live for others and love one another. In this season,
as Christians mark the 2022 Easter celebration, Akwa Ibomites who have commiserated the season said it was a time to remember the love of Jesus Christ towards man and his selfless sacrifice for humanity. Those who spoke with Spectrum Television lamented the season was marred by the high cost of living and the struggle for citizens' survival. They used the opportunity to call on public office holders and the entire citizenry to emulate the love of Christ by contributing their quota to help reduce the effect of the harsh economic realities.
A commemoration and a memory of him, whereas others did not. And so in the church and during liturgy, especially in the Catholic Church, there are special things like it has to do with love and service, especially on Holy Thursday, the washing of the feet, of which Jesus Christ portrayed love and service. On Good Friday, Jesus Christ gave himself up, the body and the blood, for the sake of the salvation of mankind. And Holy Saturday, we now discuss with him about the resurrection, of which he resurrected through the power of his Father, our God. And then on Easter Sunday, we celebrate the victory over death. That is what's most special about the Easter preparation.
Easter is the day we remember Christ when he died for us and everything he went through for us.
Easter means the sacrifice of Christ because of our sin. Although Jesus did not do anything, but because of our sin, he decided to die. So actually, that is why Christians said it. But the only problem that we're having in today's world is that it does not allow Christians to be happy because of the high cost of things.
The essence of the season is to reflect on the purpose of Jesus came to the world. And this is time for our leadership today. Jesus came as a leader and he gave his people. So the leadership of today should find ways of alleviating poverty, find ways of adding value to humanity.
Still in Akwa Ibom State, Governor Domimano continued his consultation of strategic stakeholders in furtherance of his presidential bid by visiting two former heads of state, retired General Ibrahim Babangida and General Abdul Salam Abubakar in Minna. Speaking during the visit, the governor intimated the elder statesman of his vision for a better Nigeria, defined by a revamped economy, security and lives and properties, and durable infrastructure on their part. Both former leaders congratulated Emmanuel for his courage in stepping into the ring at the national stage and commended the excellent manner he has administered Akwa Ibom State. They assured him of their blessings, advice, and prayers. Also, Governor Emmanuel has consulted the Senate and House of Representatives over his presidential ambition, thus receiving a nod of members of the PDP caucus in both chambers for his performance in office for the past nearly 7 years. Meanwhile, Akwa Ibom State Governor Domimano has called on churches to intensify prayers for the country to enable it surmount its challenges. Governor Emmanuel, who met the call at the Good Friday church service at the Quiet Church, number 2 Back Road, Uyo, noted that the challenges facing the country had negative impact on all facets of the society. The governor, who thanked the church in the state for their prayers and support to his administration, also charged the church to play their roles in the society. He also charged the church to continue to pray for the sustenance of peace currently being enjoyed in the area and the completion agenda of his administration. Governor Emmanuel again enjoined the church to pray for peaceful elections in Nigeria in 2023 and also charged Christians faithful to get their voters' cards to enable them exercise their franchise in the 2023 general election. Earlier in a sermon, the resident pastor of a church, Reverend Donald Epo, had charged Christians to acknowledge their sins and repent to be redeemed by the sacrifice of Jesus Christ on the cross. The Good Friday service also featured praise and worship and thanksgiving to God for the gift of the Lord Jesus Christ for the redemption of mankind. In Africa, at least 12 journalists have been arrested outside main prison in Hargeisa, capital of breakaway state of Somaliland, as they reported on riots taking place inside. Several of them were said to have been live on air when the security forces came to detain them. News crews had rushed to the jail after shots were heard from the prison this morning. The authorities said the situation at the prison is now calm, but the journalists remain in custody. Somaliland and Somalia often come in for criticism for mistreating journalists, especially when they try to report stories which are received as negative. Still in Africa, Ivory Coast President Alassane Ouattara has announced the registration of his Prime Minister Patrick Achi and that of his government. Ouattara made the announcement during a cabinet meeting. The president said he had decided to decrease the number of ministers in the government from 41 to 30, as well as reduce state spending. This reshuffling had been on discussion since the beginning of the year, and the president said he would name a new prime minister next week. Achi was appointed to the post in March last year following the death of his predecessor, Hamid Bakayoko. On the foreign scene, Russia has announced that it is banning entry to UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson and several other top officials of the country after London imposed sanctions on Russia over its military operations in Ukraine. The Russian Foreign Ministry said the step was taken as a response to what they called the UK's unbridled information and political campaign aimed at isolating Russia internationally. It accused the UK of creating conditions for restricting Russia and strangling the domestic economy and of unprecedented hostile actions. Russia's entry blacklist includes UK Deputy Prime Minister Dominic Raab, Foreign Secretary Liz Truss, Defense Secretary Ben Wallace, former Prime Minister Theresa May, and the First Minister of Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon. On the foreign scene, Russia says it has hit a plant making anti-aircraft and anti-ship missile outside the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv. This came hours after it admitted that Moskva warship had sunk following an explosion on Wednesday. It could be recalled that Ukraine had said it hit the Russian cruiser in the Black Sea with missiles, while Russia said a fire on board had caused the sinking. Russia's defense ministry said attacks on Kyiv would be intensified if Ukraine targeted Russian territory. In the meantime, Russia has lifted its protection of diplomatic immunity from arrest and other types of prosecution of the 18 members of the European Union delegation in Russia. The foreign ministry said the staff members would have to leave the territory of the Russian Federation in the near future. Responding, the EU said it's deployed what it called the unjustified baseless order adding that there were no grounds for the decision by the Russian authorities beyond being a pure regulatory step. Meanwhile, dozens of Russian diplomats have been expelled by EU countries over the past months. Meanwhile, Germany has officially confiscated the world's largest superyacht owned by Russian oligarch Alisher Osmanov as part of sanctions against Moscow following the outbreak of war in Ukraine. According to Forbes magazine, the 156-meter-long Dilber has an estimated value of $600 million. Reports say German customs had been eyeing the superyacht for several weeks, but could not formally seize it earlier due to a legal imbroglio over its ownership. In a related development, Ukrainian authorities have continued to discover male bodies around the capital, Kyiv, more than 1 week after Russian troops left the area to concentrate on the East Ukraine. Kyiv Region Police Chief Andrei Neptov told a briefing that 900 deceased civilians had been found and transferred to forensic experts. Neptov said more than 350 other bodies were retrieved from Bucha, where evidence of atrocities had led to accusations of war crimes against Russian troops denied by Moscow. The police chief added that the removal of rubble in Borodyanka and Makarov was still ongoing and that there will be bodies of dead bodies under the rubble. He alleged that those killed were civilians and had nothing to do with military formations. In the meantime, the International Criminal Court's chief prosecutor, Karim Khan, who has been visiting the Ukrainian town of Bucha, has said the country was a crime scene. He told reporters that there were reasonable grounds to believe that crimes within the jurisdiction of a court were being committed. Khan said it was important to pierce the fog of war to get the truth, though independent and impartial investigations. He added an International Criminal Court's forensic team was to begin work in the town. Bucha is said to have been the scene of hundreds of civilian killings, which Ukraine has blamed on the Russian forces, which occupied it for weeks. But Russia has denied responsibility for the deaths. Still on the foreign scene, at least 16 people have been injured in a shooting at a subway station in Brooklyn, New York. People have reportedly been warned to stay away from the area near 36th Street Station in the Sunset Park neighborhood. First responders said they had sound exploded devices at the scene. In a statement, the New York Police Department said there were no active explosive devices at that time. Officials said firefighters had responded to reports of smoke at the station and found multiple people injured. The suspected attacker had reportedly fled the scene, with witnesses describing a man in an orange construction vest and gas mask, while U.S. President Joe Biden has been briefed on the situation. Elsewhere, United Kingdom's Prime Minister Boris Johnson has been fined by the police for attending a birthday party thrown for him during a COVID lockdown. The Prime Minister confirmed that he had paid the fixed penalty notice for going for the hour-long gathering in the Cabinet room on June 19, 2020. According to a report, Chancellor Rishi Sunak has also been fined, while the Prime Minister's wife, Carrie Johnson, confirmed she had paid the fixed penalty notice relating to the same event. Johnson apologized, but said he would not resign over the incident. On our business news, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry has expressed its readiness to forge a better collaboration with the Nigerian Council of Registered Insurance Brokers to open up the organized private sector to the values of insurance. The president of the chamber, Michael Olawale Cole, gave the assurance when members of the council's delegation, led by its president, Rotimi Edu, paid a courtesy visit to the chamber in Lagos. Olawale said the chamber would be offered to insurance brokers to propagate knowledge about the values of insurance to business and commerce. Africa's first digital currency, e-Naira, has been ranked as #1 global retail central bank digital coin, CBDC, and the app downloads increased to 756,000 from 700,000 seen in December 2021. According to the World Bank and PwC stablecoin overview, over 35,000 transactions have been conducted on the e-Naira platform. Meanwhile, the IMF has warned about the potential expansion of the use of e-Naira for cross-border fund transfer and that agency bank networks could lead to new money laundering and terrorism financing risk. Vanguard Group, an asset manager, has become the largest stakeholder in Twitter, displacing the world's richest man, Elon Musk, from the position. According to the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission document of April 8, Vanguard Group increased its stake from 8.4%, worth 67.2 million shares, to 10.3%, worth at 2.4 million shares. This is reportedly higher than 9.1% shares bought by Musk on March 13th. With Vanguard Group's net total investment value raised to $3.71 billion against Musk's $3.29 billion. Still to come in news, AFCON 2023 qualifiers Super Eagles, no openings on Tuesday. To stay with us. Thanks for staying tuned. In health, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control (NCDC) is calling on all people to join in efforts to reduce the risk of Lassa fever infection and spread in Nigerian communities. The agency advised the people to eliminate rats in homes and communities using rat traps. It also asks Nigerians to block all holes in their houses to prevent the entry of rats. Still in health, the federal government has called on Nigerians to complete their COVID-19 vaccine doses for full protection. Nigeria's Center for Disease Control made the call in a Facebook post to persons who have received their first dose of Moderna AstraZeneca for Pfizer vaccine. It told such individuals to check the due date and get their second dose. The health body encouraged the people to take responsibility and embrace the vaccination to check the spread of the coronavirus. In sports, Nigeria's Super Eagles will know their group opponents when the draw for the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations qualification series is staged at the Super Sports Studio in Johannesburg, South Africa on Tuesday. The event will commence at 6:30 p.m. Nigeria time. A total of 48 teams will be divided into 12 groups of 4 games each, with only the winner of each group guaranteed a slot at the 34th Africa Cup of Nations that Côte d'Ivoire will stage next year's summer. Host Côte d'Ivoire are guaranteed a place alongside the best 3 second-placed teams in all the 12 groups. Nigeria, which finished in 3rd place at the 2019 finals in Egypt and reached the round of 16 at this year's championship in Cameroon, is among the 12 teams in Plot 1, which would head the 12 qualification groups. Ecuador line up Super Eagles friendly ahead World Cup still in sport, and also Eagles of Nigeria ahead of the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar, according to elcanaldelfootball.com. Negotiations are going well between the Ecuadorian Football Federation and Nigerian Football Federation over the friendly. The date, time and venue of the friendly will be decided soon. Meanwhile, following a recommendation of its Technical and Development Subcommittee, the Executive Committee of Nigeria Football Federation, NFF, has approved the appointment of Salisu Yusuf as head coach of the Super Eagles B, otherwise known as Chan team, as well as the Under-23 Olympics team. Yusuf will work with Kennedy Boboye, assistant coach, Fatai Osho, assistant coach, Abubakar Bala Mohammed, assistant coach, Fidelis Ikechukwu, assistant coach, Ebobotise Owejo Mere, match analyst, and Ike Sharumo, goalkeepers trainer, and Suleiman Shuaibu, goalkeepers trainer too. The NFF also stated that a new head coach for the Super Eagles will be announced and officially unveiled once the processes for his engagement and contract signing are concluded. On our entertainment news, Oprah Winfrey has lined up a new special at Netflix, this time with Emmy winner Viola Davis. The 48-minute episode will see Davis open up with Winfrey about her new memoir, Finding Me. Davis will share memories of her childhood marked with unimaginable poverty, disturbing abuse, and all the things that caused her pain. The 48-minute special is set to cover both the good and the bad of the much-celebrated actress's life, from her childhood growing up in extreme poverty to winning an Oscar, discussing how giving hope that the past could be different has brought her peace, forgiveness, and a sense of self. DJ Khaled has received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in a ceremony attended by previous collaborators Jay-Z, Diddy, and Fat Joe. As Fox 11 Los Angeles points out, Khaled's star is the 2719th since the completion of the Walk of Fame in 1961. Khaled also got an extra long handshake from Jay-Z to mark the occasion.
God, I love you. I appreciate you. And we're going to keep going. I want to thank my wife and my 2 beautiful boys. Asad, you good? Alam, you good? You know we the biggest, right? You know that, right? I love you. Without my kids and my wife, man, I love them so much. And I just want to take time to big them up and tell them how much I love you. Nicole, I appreciate you, not only dealing with me, but just everyday life, taking care of our kids. I'm not a regular type of person. I'm a different type of. I'm a different type of. Look, there's only one Khaled. That's all I have to say.
Still in entertainment, Ahmed Lawan, the president of the Senate, has warned multi-choice Nigeria against the proposed increase in tariffs of its products. Lawan advised the company not to increase the tariff while the matter is being investigated. The Senate president said this while inaugurating a 7-member ad hoc committee headed by Senate Deputy Chief Whip Aliyu Sabi Abdullahi to look into the matter. He emphasized that foreign operators should not take Nigeria for granted. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, STVNg. You have been watching the news this week on Spectrum TV. I am Rachel David White. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
It's Bakam, now so you lock in my heart, oh. That's how you lock my heart. Bakam, 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 now so you lock in my heart, oh. Bakam, Bakam, now so you lock in my heart, oh. You killed it, killed it. If anyone try my lady, knock out, oh sweetie baby,
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hey, baby, it's your baby,
Dollar sign.
I be one woman type of man, shamelessly love a man, no. Only you is all I see. love you forever, that's the plan. I owe you better life, oh. Only you is all I see. Oh my boo, you do me like say na juju. Hey, I need you, part of my skin like that too. Oh my boo, you do me like say na juju. Don't leave my side, you give me life, yeah, baby, oh. Back now so you lucky my heart, oh. No vacancy, oh, Georgia, Gaza. Hey, girlie, nobody better than you. Back if anyone try my lady, knock oh, sweetie, baby, oh, Fensala. Hey, girlie, nobody better than you.
Don't want nobody but my boo thing. We kicking shit like Luke Kang. She 100, she the truth, hey. And I'm a W like Wu-Tang. Getting sweet taste like pina colada. Love that Bottega, love that Louis V and Prada. No makeup, she's still hot like Sahara. Wait, she's really hot. Oh, I'ma have to put her in a coupe. Mansion in the hills with a coupe. I like the way she take this bamboo. She said if you let me get my name tattooed.
Pakam, now so you lucky my heart too. Pakam, no vacancy, oh, Georgia, Gaza. Hey, girl, ain't nobody better than you. Pakam, if anyone try my lady, Pakam, oh, sweetie, baby, oh, Fensala. Hey, girl, ain't nobody better than you. I be one woman type of man, and I'm in love. Don't be lying, only you I know. For